Welcome back. I don't know what happened there. I'm very sorry about that. Just to double check, can you hear me now? Hopefully you will be able to hear me. We want this to be interactive. Can anybody hear me? Yes, better, good, right. Very briefly, anything to do with the European Union, check on our website, transitions coming up. Whether you import or export, you need to find out what you need to do. There's a lot to be done. Rika Digital, fantastic company. Matthew and Kristina have got huge amounts of experience, and that will become apparent as they run through their presentation. And I'm going to hand over to them without further ado. Thank you for bearing with us, and I'm really pleased that you've come back to join us. You can listen again if you feel you've missed anything, and for those that may not have come back in, they will not miss out on this fantastic webinar. Over to you, Kristina and Matthew. I think, Matthew, you're going to take us through the agenda, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll start talking. I'll do the quick introduction. Kristina's going to do most of the driving and talking over the build, but I'll just briefly introduce myself. So Kristina and I work together. I'm our customer success manager, so I'm heavy on the client relationship side of things. So if any of you do ultimately become customers of Rika, then it will be me that you'll be talking to on a day-to-day basis. So it feels fitting that I introduce myself and start things off. What we're hoping to do today, as you know, this is one of 3 webinars. So this is going to be talking to you, depending on the size, scale, ambitions of your organization, what we believe you can achieve through marketing automation. We'll talk principles to start with in this session. We'll talk briefly some of the tools and some of the aims, and that will build to slightly more detail of how we get into things in session 2, and then some of the analysis that comes off the back of it in session 3. So this is a high-level start, an overview, and we'll start touching on where we feel it will be appropriate and helpful as small and medium, right up to large business users to start considering marketing automation. It's probably as much as I wanted to cover. I think I'll happily hand over to Kristina. Just to note, we've got a couple of stops on the way through once we've done sections. We want to draw some questions out there, so that will become apparent. The slides will show that. In between times, we'll take ourselves off video just so you can focus on the slides and not stare at us constantly, but we'll come back when we need to do the talking. So without any further ado, I will disappear and I will hand over to Kristina. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Hello, everyone. Today's topic is quite big and broad. So it may mean different things to different people, depending on who you ask. You may get many different answers as to what marketing automation is. So firstly, I would like to cover and start today by saying what marketing automation isn't. And marketing automation isn't a robot or a script doing repetitive tasks over and over again for you. It is not something that you can just let it roll. It doesn't do your content for you. It doesn't allow you to sit back and just have your marketing done for you, unfortunately. Marketing automation is neither of those things, and it's certainly not just another piece of software that you should use to annoy your customers. So, but what is it? What is marketing automation? As I mentioned before, this is a very big topic, one that we can't cover simply in one webinar. So what we've decided to do is separate this into 3 sessions. In today's sessions, we'll just talk about foundations, some of the basics, what it means, what are the benefits, some very basic examples of how you can put it into practice. In the next session, we will take you through how you set it up in a typical software tool that you can use, and we'll touch on the software tools a bit later in this presentation. And in our 3rd webinar in January, we will cover some of the analytics frameworks that you can use in order to measure the success of marketing automation. On this webinar, we have people from various backgrounds, various industries. For each one of you, marketing automation may mean slightly different things. But overall, what is marketing automation? It is a method, it's a process, it's also a technology solution. It can be simple and linear. So some of you may be familiar with the so-called drip campaigns, which is a linear series of emails that you may receive when you join a new application or new service. Or it could be more complex, representing various steps and based on user behavior, stuff that the user has taken, steps that they have taken on the website, for example, can drive and trigger different automations. So this whole suite of conditions, filters, actions based on certain user behaviors represent the marketing automation, the notion of marketing automation as a whole. You combine the various workflows that reflect the desired journey or experience. Marketing automation can be applied into various contexts. It could be applied as in the email context through, as I mentioned before, series of emails, and this is called email automation. It could be applied as scheduling. For example, marketing automation could refer to some social media scheduling and certain actions and interactions that you can automate into your channels. Marketing automation is applicable in contact list management. For example, if you want to recycle or cleanse your contact list, you would use a series of marketing automation techniques. It could be used for lead nurturing, or it could be very helpful in overall campaign tracking and monitoring. So throughout the series, we will touch on all of these in various capacities. So we can look into how marketing automation can be applied in the various contexts. Today, probably more onto the email side, and I think perhaps most of you will be most familiar with marketing automation in the context of email. But I wanted to give you a broader overview and to clarify that marketing automation is a broad term and it could be used interchangeably with some other concepts that are very popular in marketing. So what are the benefits? Why should you bother? Well, first and foremost, marketing automation is applicable for every business. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. You could take the advantages of marketing automation and apply them in your organization. It could work really well for a small one-person business, or it could be adapted and adopted by very large enterprises. And indeed, in our experience, we work with some really large organizations and some smaller organizations where we adopt and apply the marketing automation in practice. If implemented well, marketing automation can give you an efficient and effective way to do tasks such as customer data management, segmentation, targeting. Concepts such as personalization draw a lot on the marketing automation. Marketing automation can help you increase and optimize the conversions in your business. It can also improve, as I mentioned before, the analytics and measurement of your marketing efforts, and this is largely done from the tools that you will choose and adopt for this effort. The very great benefit of marketing automation as well is that it introduces the test and learn mindset into your business and organization. So it helps you be more proactive and try different things, see how your customers react to them, what's the benefit, and then you could change, tweak, and repeat again the same process. So it really is a very powerful tool that if you're not doing today, or if you're doing little of, you should think and consider adopting more of that into your organization. Not a new concept, but not exploited, in my own opinion, very well by all businesses. So this is the first opportunity to ask your questions about the definition of marketing automations. And throughout this presentation, we have an opportunity to ask multiple questions. So I'll give the floor to you if you have any specific questions around marketing automation, specifically around the definition of what it is.
Hi, Kristina. Yeah, I've got Seb asking a question here. He wanted to know if you've got any platforms for targeting customers. He's then saying get lists of commerces. I'm not sure if that's an acronym or whether that's a mistype, but I have gone back to him, but I've not heard back. But if there's any companies, right, it was a mistype. Thank you, Seb. Yeah, so have you any platforms that you can recommend for targeting customers to get lists of companies, and what's the best way for customer engagement? That's quite a wide question there, Seb.
No, it's a very good question, and it's one actually that we'll cover in the next few slides, because so the software tools specifically that we would recommend for the majority of we have a slide specifically of our top 10 tools this year that we think and we believe are really good value for money, but also in terms of feature, cost benefit. So we'll get to that towards the end of the presentation. So there is a whole section on software and tools. On your second question around companies for purchasing lists, well, we absolutely say no to that. As marketeers, you should use marketing automation principles to build your own first-party lists. You have responsibility under the GDPR to know exactly how those lists have been acquired. You need to have the consent of the person. So in the next few slides, we'll have a look into a practical example how, for example, you can start your own list of customers and contacts. And it's surprisingly easier than you may think. So I'll get back to this specific one. If there are no other questions, maybe we can proceed.
That's brilliant. I'm just thinking that as people are running through, it's probably a good idea for them to be thinking about their own business and how they might do this, because every business obviously is unique, isn't it? So that would be good for people to be thinking whilst you're talking on the next section.
Exactly, and to ask me specific questions for your business, because I mentioned at the beginning, marketing automation is a broad topic, and even the tools themselves are applicable for certain industries, and they are designed around the products and services of particular industries. So there are catch-all generic tools, but there are also very specialist tools, very niche tools as well, which are more applicable to, let's say, B2B businesses, or indeed e-com businesses, or those that have a product which is a software product. So we will look into those in a second, but by all means, please think about your own organization and specifics around that.
Okay,
so,
thanks, Kristina. No further questions at the moment, but please keep them coming whilst Kristina and Matthew are talking. All right.
Thank you. So the foundations. We've kind of broken down this next few sections into steps. On the Growth Hub, there is a very good article that we've published recently around the foundations and the steps, which gives some further detail and clarity on the things that we have covered today. So please go and visit the Growth Hub to read the article in more detail as well. If you want some further information on the steps that we're going to cover in the next few slides. So one of the biggest barriers to marketing automation that we have seen from our clients is a very trivial but very true thing, and this is the lack of strategy. So many marketeers, even professional marketeers in large organizations, dive into the tool, dive into the principle, just because they believe they have to have it in place, they believe they have to have it in their organizations, but don't spend enough time to strategize and to think about what are they hoping to achieve by doing this marketing automation as a program in their organization. So the very first step is a simple one, but one that you need to spend probably a lot of time thinking, and that is to set your objective. So you need to be very clear what you want to achieve by implementing marketing automation. It's often helpful to pick just one objective and then over time expand. We always recommend to start small and automate one single thing, one effort, and later down the line, when you feel more comfortable, when you have the right tools in place, you can expand that. So the key benefits, we've listed them here, of marketing automation are the following. So customer data management. This is probably one of the largest benefits of utilizing marketing automation. The ability to manage your database of contacts and customers, and this is made easier with marketing automation. So throughout the rest of the slides, we will focus on this objective as an example. But of course, there are other benefits of marketing automation. We touched on some of them earlier. So customer segmentation. So marketing automation can help you learn more about the customers that you are interacting. It gives you the tools to be able to better segment them and subsequently use that segmentation for your targeting. And targeting is most commonly used when you develop and devise your advertising campaigns. Marketing automation tools in particular are really good starting point when you want to start playing with personalization. Another huge topic, we can have a whole session specifically on personalization, but starting with marketing automation and then moving on to personalizing your content is the natural progression. Customer engagement. With marketing automation, you can expect better customer engagement because by its very nature, you're tailoring your communications depending on what stage of the journey your customer is in. As a result, this could lead to better conversion. And at the end of that, if you have the right tools in place, you will have an improved analytics and measurement for your business. The next step after you have set up your objectives is to think about your high-level customer journey and touch points. And I know you've in the previous webinars, the customer journey mapping has been covered to a degree. This again is another broad term, but what we mean in the context of marketing automation is that you want to define the particular, based on the objectives you set, the particular journey that the customer is going to take. What are their touch points and their interactions and actions in that particular journey that you're designing? And of course, this is really helpful to visualize. So you need to visualize each touch point that you think that the customer is going to hit. What is the trigger? What is the next action? It's really helpful to to use a template or a map if you haven't done this already in your own organization. And as I said earlier, on the back of this webinar, we'll provide a suite of tools on the Growth Hub, so you can go and download a few templates from there as well after the webinar. Right. So. Right, next slide. Earlier we had a question around lists. So as you can see here, our top tip is don't ever be tempted to buy lists of contacts from companies that sell them, and instead make the effort to build your own list from scratch if necessary. This thing that you see on the screen now is just a very high-level map example of how you can approach this problem of building and cleansing a list of opted-in contacts. And again, in the next few slides, we will have how this looks into. Apologies. Automation in my home. So. Back to this map. What do we have here? So we have a high-level customer journey map of how you can approach the opted-in list that you may want to build for your own organization. Each one of you can start by collating and segmenting existing contacts. You already have in your business a list of contacts. It may live in a spreadsheet. You may never have made the effort to actually put it in a spreadsheet if you're dealing on a day-to-day basis. If you're a one person and you don't have the capacity sometimes to do that. But I encourage you to spend some time, collate, and try to segment your list of customers that you have at the moment. Some of you may not have that. Others may already have a CRM in place. So the very first step is to plan, collate, and segment your existing list of contacts. If you don't have a valid opt-in, if you haven't done this in time when GDPR came into effect, there is still time. There is still time to get an opt-in from those customers. If you have purchased the list already, now I'd strongly encourage you to verify how these contacts have been acquired, where they came from, and to be very careful if you're using those, because as I said before, it will be our recommendation to always build your own first-party list. And there are many methods you can use for that. In the next webinar, we'll look into one particular example, how you can use the so-called lead magnets and set this a simple workflow to acquire first-party lists and data. A lot of you also have LinkedIn contacts. This could be a good starting point too. You can then send up an initial email and drive the users to your website so that they can give their preferences and actually get a proactive opt-in. This is very useful to understand a little bit more, not just get the opt-in, so you have the legitimate right to contact them, but also to give an opportunity for an offer. Once you have that, you can then enroll them into another flow, for example, a lead nurturing flow if they're a prospect. So this is just a very high-level map of the objective. How would you build a list of verified opt-in contacts? And again, if you go to the Growth Hub and visit our article, there is a bit more detail on how to approach this. So this leads us nicely to deciding what to automate. So again, depending on the set objectives and your individual customer journey, there may be multiple candidates and activities for automation, from website actions and email series to onboarding, social media, qualifying and nurturing leads. Gonna repeat, start small, then expand to multiple channels. And if you've decided that your first effort is compiling an effective list of first-party data, the best place to start is your website content form and a simple nurture flow. And here is an example of such simple nurture flow. So let's spend some time just analyzing this very quickly, and then we can move on to more questions and answer to what we've just seen. So on here, we have an example automation setup in one of the softwares that we'll cover later on, utilizing a lead magnet. So what do we mean by a lead magnet? Well, this could be any piece of content, which is an ebook or a downloadable checklist, anything relevant to your audience that you've decided to publish on your website. Normally, you've seen many of those by downloading. You've probably yourself been enrolled many times into such automation. Let's say you had a downloadable ebook on your website. What happens after the customer fills in the form to download this book? Well, the first time, let's call our customer Daniel, for example, gives us his email address to get the free ebook. This automatically makes him a member of a list, and it's a contact list into our automation tool or a CRM. We then have created here on this example an automation which essentially adds a tag to the customer, again automatically, so it assigns the tag to the customer. So we have a bit of a context to how we've acquired that lead. In our example, the tag would be the ebook name. So we just add a tag so understand the context in which we've acquired that contact. Then the tool will trigger an email sent automatically and immediately with the ebook download link. So this is twofold. One, we start the communication and the automation, but we also use this as a verification to know that this is a real email address, because very often if you just provide the download on the back of the form, you will find that you end up with a lot of fake email addresses in your software system, especially if somebody doesn't want to provide their real work or personal email address. So actually emailing any content is better, because this allows you to verify that the email address is also real. And then you can enroll him in another series of emails. So we can wait for 2 days and then send him a second email, which will introduce us to Daniel and a bit more about our company, for example. In another 2 days, we can send him another relevant article to the ebooks topic. So this is a simple linear automation or a drip email campaign, as some of you may know that, which follows a predictable path in a journey from requesting an ebook through to introducing ourselves to our potential customer. And this is how you normally set it up, and it's a generic look and feel to many marketing automation software tools. So, good opportunity to stop and have a questions and answers.
Yeah, and I'll jump in for you, Kristina. I'll give you a break for a second. Just to go back to the question we had before from Seb, hopefully with what Kristina's been through there, it explains a bit more of the rationale behind not buying lists and qualifying your lists that Kristina's just been through in the last session. I hope that's given you a bit more of a satisfactory view of why we're quite strong in our feelings about that. So I hope that's okay. Paula, do you have?
Thanks for that, Matthew. Seb's
no,
actually been back in touch whilst you've been talking,
yeah.
and he said his English is not that brilliant, and he apologised. He wasn't looking to buy the list. He was talking about actually finding information on people's websites. And my understanding of GDPR is if the information is freely available to the public, if you can find somebody's telephone number, you can give them a call. They can turn around and say no, thank you. But yeah, so he wasn't looking at buying lists, because that's always dangerous. You don't know whether the information is correct, how they've got hold of it, all of those horrible things. But this isn't about GDPR today, although we did have one question from Rebecca linking into lists. She's got clients going back to 2012, and she's now looking to potentially market them. Obviously, there's the issue of will the information be up to date, but without going too much into GDPR, we've got lots of information on our website about GDPR. What's your thoughts on that, Kristina?
That's a very good point, and actually it goes back to some of the example that I was giving earlier. I think, especially if you had a previous relationship and in a context of how you acquire those details, it's the perfect opportunity, if you haven't done this in 2018 when GDPR came into force, to do it now. You had legitimate interest. Those people have, this is by no means legal advice, because we're not qualified to do so, but by all means, I think you can reach out at least once to try and verify that they're still interested to engage with you and receive communications from you. And it's a perfect opportunity to try and utilize, especially if you have a bigger contact list, to try and utilize some automation or some drip campaign to try and validate that email address. So the approach I'll take, if you have a website, certainly create your form there to try and get them to re-enter their details, because it will provide you the formal opt-in, and use the opportunity to potentially even promote something around your services, or give them an incentive to join your mailing list or to re-interact and re-engage. But if you have acquired those contacts legitimately from your business, you should be okay to try and engage them and get the formal opt-in after 2018 with a campaign. Of course, never bombard your customers with emails, especially if they haven't given you formally the consent. But a good starting point is a form on your website where you can get them to re-enter and revalidate their contact details, give additional information of what they may be interested to hear from you about, or which services in particular they might be interested in knowing more. And once you have this formal opt-in, then you can enroll them into more complex automations further down the line, or re-engage with for promotional activities. But definitely don't sell to them in that first original communication. Try to re-engage, gauge whether they're still interested in your business, and then move on to any sales automation or conversion-based automations. You need that opt-in first. I hope this can answer the question, but I'm happy to. That's
brilliant. Yeah, I'm sure it does. And Pete asks, was there anything behind the 2 days on your list of when you went on to contact people, or is that just an arbitrary time frame? You just happened to say 2 days?
It is, again, a very good question. It is arbitrary to the way that this is a best practice that we found based on our work, is the right amount of time from downloading and consuming the content that you've provided and then re-engaging. But it's arbitrary in the sense that it's just simply based on the business use case that this particular journey was taken from. We believe that 2 days are enough for the customer to have read the ebook and then still be fresh in his mind, but not bombard and spam him with an email straight away. So this was just specific to that business use case. But 2 days is generally a good practice after the initial download and then subsequent email communication to introduce your business or provide something more to the original download.
Okay, thank you. And if you've got time for another couple, Sarah was saying if she hasn't got the opportunity to have downloads like an ebook on her website, could the same thing be driven from perhaps a landing page or a CRM instead?
So the CRM example is an interesting one. Again, it depends how those contacts ended up in your CRM. If you are doing an original, just if we take the example of you getting people to re-opt in, so you don't have necessarily their consent to market to them, then you just need to have a very strong proposition or explain to them how you acquired their contact details, what was the context in which they last interacted with you, before you then send them to the place where they will give you the formal consent. If they are already opted in contact in your CRM, then of course it could be anything that you believe will be of value to trigger the initial communication. So it could be any newsletter, email. As I said, you have to start small and think about your objectives in particular. So the sort of example that we're looking in this webinar is, I want to start communicating to my contacts, but I don't have an opt-in. Next webinar, we will look into specifically the example with the lead magnet with the contact landing page of two scenarios: a practitioner, fitness instructor, and a B2B organization. So I think in the next webinar we'll have some practical use cases how this is done with a landing page and a lead magnet.
Fab, that would be excellent. And MailChimp, are there any other platforms?
We'll get to that. We'll get to the platforms.
I thought you might. Yeah.
A perfect segue, I feel that was.
There we go.
Okay, are you okay, Kristina?
I'll let you carry on.
I'll disappear again. I'll let you carry on.
Is it perfect timing? So perhaps the biggest, most important area initially, if you're new to marketing automation, or if you've experimented a little bit but then were hesitant, is choosing the right tool for your business. And it's a huge topic because marketing automation tools, I'm sure you've seen sometimes the big logo walls, how many tools there are out there, which overlap sometimes with each other. So marketing automation tools, because it's such a broad term, overlap with some email communication platforms, overlap with some content management platforms, overlap with some engagement marketing and targeting platforms. So it really is could get quite messy and complicated, and choosing the right tool is certainly not an easy task. We have done this for many clients. So one of our main tasks when we get engaged is often to review the marketing stack of our customers and see whether we can integrate, get rid of some stuff, because simplification at the end of the day is the most important thing, but also it needs to be fit for purpose. There are too many tools sometimes purchased because they look good initially, but they sit there and you don't really take good advantage of them. So let's look at the basics. So what is a marketing automation tool in general? So the marketing automation tools have the following features and capabilities in common, and this is by definition what they are. So they always have a central marketing database, so a place where all your marketing data lives. So you could think about this as the system of record, or you could think about this as your CRM, and sometimes the CRM may integrate to a marketing automation tool, or indeed the CRM itself can already have marketing automation capabilities. So one of the key concepts, however, of marketing automation tools is a central repository where your contacts live and the details about your contacts. The second element of marketing automation tools is the engagement marketing engine. So this is essentially the environment in which you would create, manage the automation in the workflows. This is where you will set the triggers, the actions, and the event that you want to happen on the back of it, and then construct the journey that you desire for your user. This could be compared to the orchestra conductor for the customer interactions. And then they always have a good marketing automation tools who have an analytics engine. So this is the way to test, measure, optimize, monitor the return on investment for what you invested, not just in the tool, but often this will extend to any advertising platforms that you may run as well as part of the whole orchestration. So this is in principle the three key areas of what a marketing automation tool is. As I mentioned, a lot of them, there are so many things on the market that overlap with each other, but they specialize often in various particular aspects. Some are good at email automation, others are better at landing page design and form design. When choosing, there is a very simple list of things that I like you to think about if you haven't invested or chosen your platform or you're in the process of evaluating. So the bullet points on the left-hand side are really, really critical, and I'll just elaborate a little bit on them. So ease of use is super important. So make sure that you're comfortable with the interface of the tool. And if the tool is free or often free trials, always take them. Watch some videos on YouTube as well. It's always helpful to just have a feel and sense of what the interface looks like and how easy it will be for you to actually navigate around, because marketing automation tools could be quite technical, so you definitely don't want to burden yourself. You want to focus on the journey and the usefulness, and not necessarily on the technicalities of the tool, and they really come in different flavors. The second very important thing is the analytics and reporting capabilities. So always choose a tool that has a strong analytics engine, and we'll have a special seminar just on that, which is our series in series 3. Look at the support that they offer. You don't want to be stuck on your own. You want to have a tool which has a good knowledge base, and this is always a good teller. If the tool has a good support articles and knowledge base, it means that you will most likely find the answer there. But also look at their support provision. Can you chat to somebody? Can you call somebody? Can you email somebody if you're stuck? Take a look at the limitations. What we mean, and this kind of ties back to the integration. So make sure that the marketing automation tool actually can integrate with your website, your CRM, if it doesn't offer the CRM capabilities, and any other tools that you may use in your business. So integrations and limitations are critical, and they are in relation to your pre-existing tools. Pricing and scalability is probably a go, no-go factor for many of you. So make sure that what looks cheap initially doesn't ramp up the moment your lists become bigger. A lot of marketing automation tools are priced based on the contact that you hold on the CRM and the number of people you want to email, for example. So you want to make sure that the tool can scale with you, so it doesn't really hinder you as your list grows. And finally, fit for your business and your objectives. So on the next slide, I have a bit of a logo wall here, and this kind of hopefully answers some of your questions. These tools, all in their own right, are amazing, and we had the benefits of using them for various clients, and all of them are great. However, some of them are more appropriate for certain types of businesses, whereas others are more appropriate for different types of businesses. Again, this will go into more detail in the next webinar, where I'll do a comparative table with what each tool, based on our own experience, is best for. But we can quickly touch on this now and today in the final few minutes. So you may be familiar with some of those logos, or you may be seeing them for the first time. But starting from the top left corner, for example, HubSpot, fantastic all-in-one solution, has been around for a very long time, and it's our go-to solution, for example, for B2B customers. All-in-one, it does a lot of things beyond just the marketing automation and the workflow. MailChimp, a lot of you may have started with MailChimp. They've changed a lot of their proposition recently, and now it's again all-encompassing marketing automation platform where you can actually do the whole orchestration as well. You can run advertising campaigns from there, you can do landing pages from there. So it really has grown into a proper marketing automation platform. Fantastic one I want to touch on as well is Mautic. Many of you again may not have heard of Mautic, but it's the only open source solution that we have on our slide here. So a great starter for all of those that look for an open source solution and they want to just dip their toes into the marketing automation world without necessarily being confined to the limitations that some of the other platforms or the costs that some of the other platforms have. But on the other hand, with such tool which is open source, you need to self-host and you need to be quite technical in order to set it up initially. So you may need some help with that. Here we have many other tools and examples, and I can answer specific questions for each one of them, but just gonna touch on some others like Drift, for example. A great marketing automation platform, mostly driven for conversational automation. So many of you may have seen the Drift chats on many websites. They're specialized and pride themselves in marketing automation driven from conversation. ConvertKit, a great marketing automation tool for artists and people in the art industries. Again, a great tool, quite specialist. Omnisend, great for SMS automation. Leanplum, great if you have a mobile app. So, as I said, all of them are great, all of them do the job. There might be certain that are better fit for purpose for your own business in particular. And I'll stand on this slide for a bit because I think the next session is around measuring success, which we'll cover in detail in the following webinar, and then we have a bit of Q&A. But let's do the Q&A now on the software side of things because I think there were quite a few questions around those tools.
Yeah, we've got some questions coming in, Kristina and Matthew. Let's just have a quick look. Sam is possibly going back to what you were talking about a little bit earlier. He wants to know what he can sort of send to people to check the emails. I think it's going back to your GDPR point about making things, correct. He doesn't have an ebook, so are you saying that he could just send an email together with a list of products, or highlighting a new one or something like that? Does it really matter, or does it just we would like to update our records type of thing?
It's in all cases it's always good. This goes back to actually point number one, which is setting really your objective. If your objective, as you mentioned, is to cleanse your list, then think about if it's not an ebook, maybe highlight a service or a product or an incentive. Just try to think about what may get those people to click through to your web form, because I'm assuming, or a CRM form. I'm assuming you want to drive them to a website where they can update their preferences. Think about an incentive that will drive them there. It could be a discount, a small discount, or an offer code if you're selling a product. It could be a highlight. It's a very good idea highlighting a new service proposition, but don't just do a cold email. Think about the specific value proposition that you have for your customers. So ebook is a good one because it's a piece of content that you can develop. It's a good practice for just to think about your content in general. But if you don't have this, you certainly can highlight a new product launch or even an update about your organization that you believe would be of interest. I wouldn't recommend just sending a cold one with update your preference, and if you want still to hear from us, because the likelihood of you getting negative response just on such email is high. If they haven't communicated with you for a while, they may have even forgotten what you're all about. So always try to highlight and give them a bit of a reminder. Christmas is actually a really good time for that because you can tie it in with the holidays. It could be quite strange sometimes receiving a card from a business you can't remember when you last interacted. However, you're more likely to react positively on a holiday campaign. So you could use this opportunity as a good. re-engagement to and get people to go and re-qualify, resubmit their details with you. So use the opportunity of the Christmas holidays, send them a nice message.
That's a really nice idea. Yeah, I like that. And apologies, I'm not sure if this is a Jan or a Jan, but they want to know, how do you decide between doing it yourself, they're a small business, or outsourcing to a marketing company?
My personal recommendation is, I know you're a small business and you think this is a big undertaking, but the rewards are greater when you try to do this in-house. Of course, by all means, engage help for the initial setup of the tools, but that's the whole point of automation, right? So once you have done your first basic flows and you know how to read the tool and you know how to monitor, then I don't see any reason why you can't do this in-house. Outsourcing your marketing, from my experience, even though we're a marketing agency, is not always the best idea when it comes specifically to the content and the communications, because you, as the founder or a manager or director, know your business best, and you are in the best position to design the content of those emails. You are the person that knows your business inside and out and can really communicate the value proposition best. From my experience, outsourcing the communications themselves has not yielded the best result. But in the initial setup if you feel you need help with the technical implementation of a marketing automation tool, this is where you can get the help of the agency. You could get the help of a creative agency as well to try and design a little bit your emails, for example, if you're doing an email automation, that's fine. But these are kind of groundworks, and from there on, if everything is set up correctly, you should be able internally, without much effort, to execute this yourself. So that would be my piece.
I agree. Thank you for that, Kristina. I'm conscious of time. I have got some more questions, and I know you and Matthew have kindly said that you can stay on a little bit after 11, but we do have people that obviously have got to go at 11. So if you could just whiz through the last part, and we'll see what the time is at the end.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, in our next sessions, we will cover some practical examples. So we'll go from setting up the tool and how you can execute and run a simple automation in practice by yourself. So this could be a good time for you to join and just see how it's done in practice. And in our third webinar, we'll just talk about the measurement framework. So how could you measure success? How do you know that the marketing automation campaigns are having the impact on the business growth that you have? So by all means, please go and register now for those where we'll cover more details on the measurement side of things, and on the second one on how to set this in practice. So just in conclusion, I want to reiterate some of the steps and the foundational stuff that we covered today. So marketing automation, not a robot, not a script. It's a process. It's completely doable by any size organization. In fact, we can encourage any business to try and experiment with it, irrespective of the size. It's not confined by whether you're one person or you're a multinational organization. Some of the tools that I showed on the screen earlier, in fact, I've chosen them specifically, Bar Marketo. They offer free tier, so you can go and experiment with those today, pretty much on the free tier, and get comfortable with what all the tools are. So reiterating the steps, you need to set up your objectives. So you need to be very clear what you want to try and automate. You need to be very clear on the customer and their typical or desired journey that you may want to utilize for the marketing automation. So this is just preparation work, and you may think you know in your head, but you do need to sit down and map it out. Then pick the area of the automation. As I mentioned, start small. Great conversation today around how you can kickstart this campaign or program just to update your pre-existing customer lists with some using the holidays, for example, or any other lead magnet that you may have available. Don't be afraid to recycle content as well. Choose the most appropriate software for your business, and then test, measure, learn, experiment. So there is no right or wrong answer in marketing automation. It all comes down to actually testing stuff, testing small, and don't being afraid that you get it wrong, because you have the opportunity to again retest anything in the next series. So that's in conclusion, and then just maybe final set of Q&A, because it's a big topic.
It's a huge topic, and you've covered it amazingly well. And the couple of questions that we had may well be covered next time. One is about web chats and utilising those the platforms, and a tool for business to consumer directly for sending out marketing automation. So thank you to John and Polly for those two. But I just wanted to formally say thank you, Kristina and Matthew, for a great presentation. And from myself, I wanted to apologise to everybody for the technical hiccups at the beginning. You probably, for those of you that have attended webinars before, have heard me talking about the Swindon and Wiltshire Local Enterprise Partnership and the Growth Hub and what we do. So hopefully you haven't missed out too much, but I will just put in the chat, you can watch this webinar again. A couple of you were asking for, can we go back a slide? I'd like to take a screenshot and this sort of thing. So all of our webinars for the whole of the programme are available on our website. It's the same link as the registration link. So please do, as Kristina said, book onto the next ones for marketing automation. The webinars relating to your mental health and that of your team, it is so important. And I really hope that we see you next week, next Thursday, for the practical instalment, which I know people are going to find really valuable from Kristina and the team. But if we're not able to see you beforehand, I hope everyone has a great festive season. Thanks again to Kristina and Matthew. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you all in the new year if we don't see you next Thursday. Take care, everybody. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.